I've played the demo of The Inquisitor, or as it's known in Poland, The Inquisitor. And you see, it's an interesting game. Overall, it really has that Polish feel to it. And you might not understand what the Polish feel really is if you're not from Eastern Europe. You have to be from Eastern Europe to understand that certain countries have certain ways of making their games, and it feels, you can tell exactly when a game is made by a Russian or by an Ukrainian or by a Polish just by the way it feels. There are certain aspects of it that just shine through, and this is truly a Polish game. Now, this might also come thanks to the inspiration for the Inquisitor game, which is based upon a book series called The Inquisitor Psycho, I think. The Inquisitor, something like that. My friend, De Grengolada, gave me a copy of a book as a gift, and thank you very much. It's an interesting book with an interesting premise. You must understand that the book is based upon the idea that Jesus Christ no longer went to the crucifixion. He just said no and became the Roman emperor. Time skip later, and here we are where there's basically no Muslims, and you're playing as this person that has to investigate a little town and find out what's the deal about the vampire he was sent to find. The vampire inside me is trying to break out. Vampire hunters are not that liked in Romania, as you might imagine. Not after Dracula had that encounter with Van Helsing, but getting beside the point, let's go back to the game. The game itself is an interesting mix, okay? It has that Polish feel to it, but many people will complain about the graphics. Now, to the people that complain about the graphics, I say shove them up somewhere where the light don't shine. The problem is, the studios have spent way too much time focusing on graphics, on making everything as realistic as possible, and way too little on giving it a certain feel to it. Yes, indeed, this game might have a feel closer to the first Witcher, or Sid Meier's Pirates, for that fact. But I think that only helps the game overall, because when there is a sea of ultra-realism that you can't tell one game apart from the other, I'm probably able to tell this game apart from the rest. Okay, that's one aspect. Another interesting aspect is the fact that when you get to play it, hands-on keyboard and mouse, because PC game of course, it really feels like a Witcher game. It really has that feeling, and it's closer to The Witcher 2. It's not The Witcher 1 wacky combat thing, it's closer in feeling to The Witcher 2. And I think that's a good thing. You see, I like The Witcher 2. I never played 3. Didn't care for 3, don't care for open worlds. All open worlds can die. We should get rid of that gimmick. But The Witcher 2, with its open areas, manages to make the game fun while containing it into a zone that doesn't just let you loose, like we Romanians say, like a cow in the field. You're not getting that cow back. The idea is that this feeling to it is good. It's a good feeling. It's fun when you're running around. It has quick time events because those are still a thing, but nevertheless, they're not as bad as you might think. They're decent. Like, if they remove them, the game would work and there would be no problem, but they're there, and overall, they're not that big of a problem. They don't matter that much overall, I want to say. Like, with them or without them, the game is still gonna feel the same way. Another interesting aspect is the sound. The sound is good. It's good. It's not something that blows your mind like you would expect from an old Final Fantasy game, but it's not something boring and generic like you see in most AAA video games nowadays. No, the sound is good. It's decent. It does its job. Funny how this review is just going like, oh, it's a decent game. Because it is. Now, there's another problem with it, which I think is the biggest issue the game has. Oh boy. and that's optimization. Now, you have to understand, I have an 66,000 RX, okay? It's an AMD stuff. It doesn't work that well on a high. On medium, has no problem doing everything you want it to. But high, no, not at all. No chance. And this might be an issue thanks to its graphics style, since it doesn't seem that intensive, that it does that. And if I have these problems on high on my RX 66, I'm expecting people to have worse problems in the future. So again, this optimization needs to be taken care of. I know optimization now is like an impossible magic of out there that nobody can find. It's easier to find the winds of magic as a peasant in Warhammer Fantasy than it is to find the solution to make proper optimization for your video game and not make it so big that it costs like 1,000 gigabytes. By the way, the install for the demo was just 11 gigabytes. So I'm hoping they're gonna keep it in that range. I can accept 20. At max 30. Anything after 30 is gonna be too much for this game. So let's go back. So the optimization is the problem with it. And the game is supposed to launch in February 2024. And they have time to fix it. There is time to fix it. We just have to hope that they manage to fix it, because the game has potential. Understand the following thing. The Inquisitor Cycle book series are not translated into English. Poland has a bunch of fantasy books that would be amazing if they were in English, but they're not. So if this game manages to break through and prove that there is a market for this type of story, which, by the way, there should totally be a market for this type of story, then the books might get translated. And let's be honest, the concept is interesting. You have this Inquisitor that goes around fighting vampires and witches and other stuff and going to the Unworld, which is a parallel dimension with a giant tentacle monster that has a, flashlight for an eye and is searching for you to kill you. It's interesting, the whole idea of being a soldier of God and going around the world doing the bidding of the Archbishop of Henron, I think, something like that. You see, the thing is, overall it has potential. The story, the gameplay to it, everything has potential. The biggest issue is that they need to fix the optimization and invest more time into the game overall so that they can use that potential. Because at the end of the day, this can be a breakout for both the studio, the writer of the Inquisitor Cycle, and Calypso Games, but Calypso Games already big thanks to the Tropical series. Again, this series might just be the next Witcher, but for it to become the next Witcher, it has to pull its weight, it has to work a lot, and there's not that much time left on the clock. They should hurry up and fix the optimization. I know it's hard. Work out a bit more on the story, work out a bit more on the graphics, just a tiny bit because they're okay like they are. Make the sound and the music a little bit more enticing and go with it. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Inquisitor Cycle refers to, because I've jumped over a few things because, gotta keep that monetization on YouTube. It's a dark fantasy story, much in the same way The Witcher is. Now, its inspirations are a little bit Elric, of course, but they're not as much as The Witcher, which is the funny thing, which, I appreciate that. I didn't see in the demo that much Elric as I see in Geralt of Rivia. So I appreciate that, and I think this game has potential. With its dark stories, dark themes, its underlying messages, the way the demo ends and just makes you wanting to get more is amazing. And the most important aspect, here's the most important aspect about the Inquisitor or the Inquisitor, is the fact that the game has a demo. Now, most games don't really have demos anymore. They've kind of thrown away that concept. But this game has a demo. This game has a demo. It gives you the chance to see how the game will play, possibly, what the issues are right now compared to what they'll be in the future, if they'll get fixed. It gives you the possibility of seeing if you want this without, going through other certain methods to see if you like the game. And this is a big plus for the game and for a developer. But again, they need to fix that optimization problem, and I think everything would be okay. I would wholeheartedly recommend this game. It doesn't have a difficulty option, so it's probably gonna be harder later down the road, but still, the game is fun and I really recommend it. If they can manage to fix the issues I've highlighted, then we might have ourselves another Witcher. Yeah, it's gonna come with a little bit of a problem because from what I've seen in the demo, it happens in like Europe, the German part, some German town, and you see there are no black people in there. So I'm expecting there to be controversy about this, much in the same way there was with Kingdom Come Deliverance and with the latest Final Fantasy game. But hopefully the developers can stick to their guns, hard to do nowadays, and just continue with the game and with the world as is without listening to all the Twitter freaks crying about there not being enough representation, when it's kind of clear there's gonna be enough representation if it happens in Europe. Europe in its antiquity, Renaissance, and the whole history of Europe is diverse, but it's not diverse because there's black people or Asian people in it as Americans have it. No, it's diverse because there's so many countries with so many different languages. And no, the Sami are not indigenous to Europe. I'm sorry I have to say this. I know it was about this game, but this is going to become a problem with the game. The lack of black people in the demo kind of shows that there will be people that will cry about it if this is something normal for the game. But again, maybe the devs can keep to their guns and we'll get another Witcher on our hands. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.